Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 202 of Live with Lil, where the guest this week is the one and only Nick Blood. Here we go. How are
Hello,
you?
everyone. I'm good. Yeah, I'm all right. You guys all just missed Ian. He just left. And I also I've had a few glasses of red wine, so I get a bit loud.
Tell us about Ian. No, I'm just
Ian,
joking.
do you know what, actually? So he turned up, and our respective partners were both wearing yellow shirts with dark pants, and me and Ian were both wearing all white as well, which happens quite a lot, that we end up coordinating what we're wearing. But yeah, no, we've been doing, like, we're in the sort of same bubble, so we've been doing, I mean, we just hang out all the time, but Sunday roasts has been the new thing.
Yes, so a Sunday roast in Inks, is that a thing here?
Not like it is in England.
A Sunday roast is what, like
Christmas dinner every Sunday.
yeah, at like 3 o'clock, a late lunch. Yeah, Christmas dinner.
This one was particularly late because Ian, as usual, was especially late today. Yeah.
It's all right. Turkey's meant to be dry, isn't it? It's fine.
Well, no, it was. Well, actually, we had a bit of a disaster. Actually, it was Easter Sunday, and we were going to get like I don't eat meat, so we were going to get like a non-meat roast thing. And then I went to go to the supermarket, and all the big supermarkets were closed. So I very quickly then made a Wellington. So, like, for Americans, do you have Wellingtons, Zach?
We do.
It's like meatloaf wrapped in pastry.
Right? But so, did you make a Wellington with not beef?
It would be, yeah. I did it without beef, but it's like a meatloaf wrapped in puff pastry. So it was a very kind of last, but thankfully they were late, so then I actually had time to make it.
Oh, perfect.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, it does. Basically, you just whip that up. I just go, right, Postmates.
I did get quite stressed. I started to get quite anxious about things, and I was still just like, I hadn't showered, so I was quite grateful that they turned up late.
Yeah, thank God. Well, thank you for being here. We are also a little bit late starting, but that's just because we couldn't stop chatting. So much to catch up on.
Little catch up.
Right, let's press play, because one thing I tend to do is just over talk, and then we're here for 10 hours, which you probably don't have. It's quite late in England, isn't it?
You're going to have to do a countdown or something here so I can get it all in sync.
Yeah, okay. So you're watching it on Disney Plus. So I've skipped the recap. So
okay, all right.
The Marvel flip.
Yeah.
So I'm currently skipping the recap. Where? Oh, I remember that. I was just seeing the car flip over. That was my first day ever shooting.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm on the Marvel thing where it's just got the Marvel logo.
Perfect. Right. Is it playing, or are you paused?
No, I'm paused.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, play. It's quite nice, really, that it starts with this car still being flipped over, seeing as that was your...
Oh, of course, yeah. Literally, that scene was the first scene I ever shot.
What a mad thing to come into.
It was bonkers. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was so jet lagged because I literally got off the plane. I literally shot that scene straight off a plane.
Oh my God.
Got to set, and Anne, costume Anne.
Yeah.
I bumped into her, and then who was the second AD on that series? She had like red hair.
Oh, Katie.
Yeah. And I was like, I'd wrapped on something the night before in London, landed, and then got to set, and I was like, oh, can I like shower or find someone to shower? And they were like, could you just get a costume, please? I remember just sitting in the blazing heat, and when you jet lagged, like any different climate is it adds to the kind of what's going on. And I remember being sat in Culver City on location, eating Skittles off Crafty, just being like, what is happening? Like,
what is my life? Wow, that's mad. So can you, because I mean, I can't tell you how excited people are that you are on. I mean,
the chat's going nuts.
The chat's going nuts. So many requests for you, and now you're in an episode that we're watching soon, thank God. Can you take us through the casting process? Because I had never heard of this happening before I heard it with you.
Well, I remember I taped for it. Do you know what I realized, actually? This is interesting. It wasn't actually that long ago I realized I taped for Fitz.
Wow.
Did you?
Yeah, it suddenly occurred to me. I was like, hold on a second. I'm sure, but maybe I say that and I could be misremembered, but I'm sure like I taped for Fitz before, when they were first ever doing the imagine how different that show would have been. But yeah, no, I taped for it, and like any of the Marvel stuff, it's like different character names, it's kind of fake scenes. You don't really, I think they probably had said it was Agents of Shield because you're already up and running. So taped for it. And there was a couple of other things that like were looking very promising at the time, like American series and stuff. So I got this call saying, "Oh yeah, they really like you for this thing," and I was kind of a bit confused as to which thing it was, because it's like sometimes when you're auditioning and you do all these tapes and they go, "Oh, they call things different names, the names get changed, or they give it a fake name because it's all secret," and so then it could kind of go, "Oh right, it's this thing." And I was shooting something at the time, and they wanted to, obviously, what you normally do for those watching is a screen test, which I think back in the day was like literally they would set up like a set and you would essentially do a mock shoot of that scene and they'd get an idea of how you were on camera and stuff. Whereas nowadays it's more like we're going to meet you in person. We're going to have all the bigwigs watching. And it's this really, really weird thing.
Oh, it's so intense.
My experience of it, where like you'll have a camera on you, and there's all these kind of really sort of silent, serious-looking people watching you, but they're not watching you; they're watching the TV screen next to you. Onto, so you're like, "Why are they look? Oh, that's me."
Yeah, I hope that's me up there, not
So ordinarily you do a screen test, and I was shooting this thing here, and I had one day off, so that what they were trying to plan to do was fly me out on the first flight to LA, do the screen test and fly back that night, and then I'd have to carry on shooting in London. But thankfully my agents were like, you can't ask him to do that, he's never going to be able to do a decent job if nothing else. So I think I spoke of like Jeff and Mo and Jed and everybody, and just spoke with them over Zoom and did like another, that's it, I went into a casting director in London. So I went into their offices to kind of do the screen test there. But it was weird because I just sort of read with this casting director, and she clearly just been called up and said, "Would you do the screen test with this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." And she's reading through it, stumbling over her lines and just carrying on regardless. And I'm like, "Do that again?" She goes, No, it's fine. Let's just keep going. But it's that funny thing, isn't it? Where it's sort of, you can stress sometimes as an actor getting everything right and just how you wanted it. But actually, if they just like you, they like you, and they'll, you can miss out on a part and you'll drive yourself crazy thinking it's because your accent wasn't perfect. Whereas
that one word,
it's just that person fit,
Yeah, totally. I saw Mo on the day that she had the Zoom with you, and she was so excited, and she was like, "Oh, this is going to be great." And they were really, because I think they loved having people in the room, because Mo was so good at zoning in on people's vibes and kind of knowing if they were going to be a good team player, because you were coming into an ensemble cast that had already been going for a year, and like I always think it's quite hard to come into a show when it's already been going and to try and slot in there,
because everyone
it's a tricky, it can be hard,
it was a lot, it was kind of mad because I essentially had to move to LA. And you're I think for British actors as well, that American step kind of thing is got a lot of kind of glitz and glam around it that makes it this big, really big deal. And there's Henry, BJ.
So good, like new people of season 2 that were just so brilliant.
So you're dealing with all that stuff, and then also on top of it, you're like, oh, these people, and like I think a lot of actors have that thing where you're going, that imposter syndrome thing of like, slip through the net a little bit here, and you turn up and everything's so kind of, like this well-oiled machine, and you're just trying to slot in, and you're complete fish out of water. I mean, I remember that first period being so exciting but terrifying at the same time. And you're feeling like eyes are on you all the time. They're not, everyone's getting on doing their job, but you just feel like you're just on display all the time. And I definitely felt, at least for the first few weeks, going, what is happening, what is going on,
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, that's intense. And it's funny because it's everything you want. You know, you want that call from America to say, we need you on the next flight and you're going to work right from the plane. And it sounds so glamorous, but being in that kind of state, how do you like, you know, stay present and not get too crazy anxious in those moments?
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's like, I mean, I don't know about you, but often, depending on the environment on set, or even just a frame of mind that morning when you start a new job, I find myself a lot of time just having that thing of like really self-conscious, really, and you just have to practice it, hiding that and not infecting anyone else with your anxiety because they're trying to get on the job and they're going, oh, if he's worried, then we're worried about him being worried. So I don't know really. I mean, I guess part of the fun of doing this job is all those new things.
Yeah.
So kind of embrace that in, you know, just trying to enjoy it and just not mess up.
Sure.
Really.
Sure.
Just don't mess it up. You know, and you're kind of watching everyone's reactions going, if someone's like cursing in the corner, you're like, was that because of me? Or was that because that
Oh, always. Yeah, you always assume it's that could be me. We're going again because I messed up.
But we're really lucky, like,
because I mean,
you nailed it.
You dropped right in seamlessly. It's like you watch this, like you'd never guess in a million years that you had any of that. It's like,
oh, that's kind of
nervousness going on. I mean, it was a home run. So.
And Hunter is such a cool character. Like he's a character that we hadn't had before. That kind of, you know, super British charm, but a bit how would you just like? You weren't eager. You weren't over eager, and we hadn't really had that kind of.
Yeah, cool.
I was just pretending. I actually just watched it just an hour. I was just seeing that first sort of bit. I was going, oh, I think I pulled that off quite well, like hiding all that inner anxiety.
Yes, totally. How did you film? How did you do this helicopter one? Presumably you weren't in a real helicopter.
That was amazing. No, we were in a real helicopter. We did most of it on the ground in the helicopter, but the guy like riding the helicopter, driving it, riding it, whatever you do, sailing it. He's like the guy who does all the helicopter stuff on film, does all Michael Bay stuff and everything. And so we literally we were on the ground shooting it. And Adrian, he's a cool guy to film with, isn't he? He's a very cool guy.
Yeah.
Very funny, very kind of charismatic. But then they were going to go up and, you know, we need to get footage of the thing flying around. I was like, I'm staying in this helicopter. They're like, well, no, we don't really need you. And I was like, I'm staying in the helicopter. So, we just did this flight around it's the Disney Ranch. So and he was doing that whole thing where like the helicopter then does that and kind of flies like it was amazing.
That is
amazing.
Oh my gosh, I'd be terrified. So you could feel it, you know, you just strapped in so you don't.
Yeah, you just strapped in. Weirdly, like you don't really sort of like it feels kind of like, oh, here we go, we're just on like a roller coaster ride or something. But like just getting those views and he's doing all these mad maneuvers. It was really cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And was the camera inside with you, or was it to be
up in the air?
Yeah.
No, because they didn't film any of that because it was literally just they would get in this stuff down on the ground just to get the wide shots of the helicopter moving around. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay strapped in and go on this flight. I want to check this out.
Oh my God, that's so cool. I feel like insurance-wise, that's mad.
Yeah, no, I do actually think they were probably like, oh, fuck, probably don't really.
Yeah. So it's the new guy, you can't do something. Sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I just stayed strapped in. It was cool. Getting to do stuff like that is amazing. And on that show as well, like we did get some fun stuff to do like that.
Super fun. And did you know, when did you find out how kind of integral Lance Hunter was going to be to the show with Bobby too? And then, you know,
I knew nothing about Bobby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they didn't. The scene I shot was with her, like the tape that I did, the audition tape, but it was different names. I wish I could remember what. I think my character was Campbell or something like that, and it was with the ex-wife character, but I didn't know. As far as maybe they did tell me early on. I can't remember, but when I first got out there, I didn't know anything about that storyline. But I think they started to tell me, "Oh, we've you know, your ex-wife character is going to turn up."
Yeah,
But I mean, I knew it was like a new main role in it, but I also I was so naive. I didn't really know what deal was with everything. So my agents remember saying like that because I didn't do a screen test, because it's all contractual and all big business stuff. They were like, your first episode is essentially your pilot. So like, if you were to do a screen test and get a pilot in the States, and then if they just shoot the pilot and they go, well, we don't like them, we're going to bin them off, then they have the right to get rid of you after the pilot. So they said like, look, and it was obviously my agent had just kind of said to me, when you're not doing a screen test, so they're just going to treat your first episode as a pilot. But in my head, I was going, so I need to wait till I get the call to say, I know you're in. So I was staying in the Culver Hotel right opposite the studios and trying to work out what I was going to do, whether I was staying or going or whatever.
Oh my God, even more stress. That's so crazy.
Yeah. But I was like, and then I went to stay at my agent. I was going to go stay at my agent's for a bit in between getting an apartment, but I wasn't going to sign on for an apartment until I knew. And I think then I was on, because I don't really like to bother anyone. So I was like, I didn't want to be calling my agent and go, so what's happening? So I just sort of left it, thought, oh, they'll let me know. And I was talking with, I can't remember where I was, but I was talking with Mo. And she kind of went, what? And I was like, oh yeah, well, obviously I've just got to wait till I get the okay. She's like, well, of course you're in. Like, get yourself an apartment. Like, you're living here now. I was like, oh yeah.
Great. Okay, good to know.
That's so fun. It's like that's crucial to your feeling comfortable. And
to your life.
To your life. Yeah, that's so.
So you packed thinking, well, this could be a year or it could be
a couple weeks.
That's 2 weeks.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I was just like, right, I need to take everything I but they're flying you business class, so you got a few cases you can fill. I was like, but it was weird. I literally just had to go. My mum and my sister and my nephew. She brought my little nephew my last sort of evening shooting in London, because I was like, well, I don't know where I'm going to see you next. It might be in a few weeks. It might be in 6 months or something. So they came down to see me in London, and I just had to have enough stuff to go, and then I'm just leaving my flat being like,
leave a key with someone. And
yeah,
that's the side I think that, if you have a passion like acting or anything really that's, well, I guess anything that's just not easy, those are the sacrifices that come.
I love the way you said that, like acting or anything that's not easy, as if like acting was up there with like brain surgery and stuff. Like, and it's not easy, like acting. Like, I learned lines to pretend to be someone else and getting paid lots of money for it.
But that's the thing. The acting itself is easy, but the getting the job is so difficult.
Well, no, and I'm being facetious. Like, you're absolutely right. It's like, yeah, I totally know it's not the same as I worked a labouring job and stuff for about 2 weeks, and one day of that was enough for me. Yeah. But like, it's not easy. I mean, acting well is hard, or it's easy, depending on how naturally it comes to you or how good you are at it. And then dealing with it psychologically, it's not hard when you're doing it. It's when you're not doing it, it's really, really hard.
Yeah, but the stuff that comes with it, like, it's kind of like, how much do you want this? Are you willing to just kind of go with it, drop everything, not know when you see your family, obviously once you get there.
Had you been to LA before? Was that
I've been once, yeah. No, hold on, no, that's a lie. I went out to LA for like a short period, because I was just like, it was the first break I'd had. I was really lucky after I left drama school, was working like solidly, and I had this break, and it was kind of, I'd gone to New York, so I met with this manager in New York, and she was like, go out to LA. So I'd signed with her, and so I was like, I'll just go on holiday to LA for a bit and do some meetings and stuff. And then I did a play I'd done in the West End. Then when I did a stint in Toronto, and then did the Armandson in LA, which is when I signed with my agents out there and stuff. So I'd spent a bit of time there, but so I liked it. I really liked LA. So I knew it was going to be a cool place to be.
Yeah. Still though, to not know many people, and I don't know, I just think it's, you strive for something, and then when you're given the opportunity,
the uncertainty
you
of
still
not
have
knowing,
to then like take it.
Yeah, of like getting on the plane and not knowing how long you're saying goodbye and everything else. And it's like,
there's definitely a like this, I don't know about you guys, but like after you start to find your feet with things a bit and work out how this industry works, and there is a real kind of, there's decisions to be made about your kind of stability and your sort of, day-to-day life and routine and relationships, you know, friendships, family and stuff, and then also going, well, I've kind of gone all in on this career.
Yeah, go
so
for it.
you kind of like, right, I have to, you know, otherwise it's kind of like it's like the that thing in holding on to the rising balloon.
Yeah, up.
Do you let go kind of thing? Because it's kind of like, well, I'm in now, so I might as well just see how this pays off. That can be hard. You know, I've definitely had times where it's like, is this worth it? You know, because it can seem very, very seductive from the outside. But, you know, I know Ian, like on, you know, we've talked a lot about in the first season, he had times when he really found it hard because he was just out in LA. He didn't have, you know, a solid foundation out there. And it was tough being stuck out there. Whereas I think I had all that excitement kind of thing, which never really ran out. Rather, I think if I'd been plonked there on my own and hadn't been so lucky to be around a lot of the cast and crew on Agents of Shield and everything, you know, it's tough. You know, that is tough. I don't care what anyone says about, you know, it's self-inflicted problems. It really is. It is self-inflicted problems.
Oh, totally, yeah. And it's problems you dream of having, isn't it? But it's still, you know, there's still a process that goes with that. And it's part of why I love rewatching the early episodes. And, you know, these are still early episodes, is that, you know, watching it, I go, wow, that's the version of Elizabeth that was so terrified, that was in bed every night at 8:01 as soon as she got home, just because she was so nervous that if she missed a minute of sleep, like, I'd be fired. And, you know, it's cool to kind of see, oh, this is how far, you know, not that I'm still quite good on set, but you just kind of, you get to that point where you relax and you go, oh.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, it's one of the great things about having done Agents of Shield, where like that amount of hours on set, what that teaches you, you kind of almost don't realize it till it's finished. You learn kind of screencraft, and you also learn etiquette on set, and just some things like something I was shooting just recently where there was I think whatever angle and, you know, size of shot we were doing, the director said, oh, like, what you're doing is really great, but like on this size shot, like, we just can't really see it. It needs to be, because I think they were behind me. So you just go, all right, instead of being really precious about this and what my performance, you're like, oh, they need to see my shoulder doing this or whatever. And you just go not to be precious about it. And also the other thing, you can feel like in such a bubble, and something like Shield, where it's got such a big fan base, and, you know, you can feel like that's all there is. And in actual fact, like, this is a small portion of such a huge kind of cultural experience that, like, it doesn't, if you mess up, it's cool. It doesn't matter. Like, particularly on this, like, the fans are so supportive that, you know, you don't, and also the people on set were, that if you mess up, and do you know what, if you do, they'll cut around it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the nice thing about it being 22 episodes, is you go, well, even if they, you know, worst case scenario, you are terrible in a scene, there's no way for them to cut around it. There's 1,000 other scenes. Nobody, by the time you get to the end of 22 episodes, no one's going to go, oh, do you remember that scene in episode 4 that she was just, nobody's, it doesn't, you know, we're on to the next. And it's kind of a way, like you say, of learning, and then just baptism of fire. I mean, how did you, so you landed, you go straight to set from the plane, you can't shower, you're into a costume that you've never seen. How'd they fit you?
No, I just literally got given whatever was you know, they got ready. Anne and her messy tuck.
Yeah, she loves a messy tuck.
Yeah. I was like, I remember just being like, no, and then she was like tucking my t-shirt into the front of my trousers with the belt hanging. I was like, just pulling it out, and she's going, no, messy tuck is really hip. And I was like, is it?
All of a sudden you're jet lagged with someone just tucking your shirt into your trousers for you.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, the other side of that is that there's a little bit of like no time to think is good. Yeah. But then also there's stuff that you go, oh yeah, in hindsight, I probably would have been thinking about this thing a bit more, or that thing a bit more. But you know, it's like we're just saying, is that actually watching, you go, oh, all of that stuff, you don't actually see any of it on screen. Because that's what's more important is the story, rather than this little moment that I thought was really great that I was going to do in this scene. Or like, my, you know, shoes had Velcro rather than laces. Like, I think that would be like, it's just you
realize it doesn't in the grand picture of things, and you have to trust. On a show like Agents of Shield, we had a different director every episode, and you started with a great one with Jesse Bochco, who directed this episode. But there is that element of, you just kind of have to trust when you are an actor on a show like this, because there's so many of us also.
Well,
I mean,
there's
like
the
7
train's
regulars.
going, so it's like, you don't hop on it. I mean, what do you do? It's just sort of, it's going.
In fact, I remember Ian saying, what's his name? Paxton said to him, know what you're in, man. Like, and it's something which I always like remind myself of, going where I think Michael Shannon apparently says it in an interview where he says, like, I'm, you know, just like the lighting guy is here to serve the director, or the sound guy. So that's what I'm here for. So I might have really, really strong opinions about what I should do, but at the end of the day, I'm here to serve the director. And, you know, you do kind of learn that as well, that what people are tuning into this show, not for me and my little idea I've got for this scene. They're tuning in for the show, and I'm just a part of that, you know.
Yeah, that's a tricky one though, because you have to know when to pick your battles, isn't it? Like
100%.
You know, and just there may be.
I'm not messy tucking. Put my foot down.
It's a neat tuck.
And that was a battle I knew I would lose. So
you're like,
right.
They like come to you at the end of that episode. They're like, look, Nick, performance was fantastic, but we're not going to pick it up. We saw the tuck.
Yeah.
No one's going to believe you, but messy tuck. Yeah. But you're absolutely right about the picking your battles thing. It's like that thing of going, you know, it's also a mutual respect thing of going, if I want them to respect my ideas for something we could do here, I also have to respect their ideas.
Yeah.
And actually as well, there's sometimes where you do learn that going, oh, this director, this writer or whatever, is seeing things that I'm not seeing here. You know? Really, like, it's one of the best environments you can be on set, is where for me anyways, where you can collaborate and you can throw ideas and then you can create and build this thing together. But at the same time, on a network show, you know, a Marvel thing as well, is that there's a limit to that, because there's this whole world that came before you, you know.
And time and I think that's applicable to any job that you have in any field. Is like, there is kind of that thing of, if you come in all guns blazing with all these opinions, it's going to be really hard for people to trust you and respect you when you kind of haven't earned your stripes yet. There is a sense of, you know, you do kind of have to dig in and lose some battles maybe before you get to
the thing is you have to know that where it's coming from isn't your own ego. As long as it's about going, it's because I actually care about this story or this scene or the way this goes, or the truth of it, or whatever it might be. If it's from that, I'm kind of cool with, you know, someone losing their temper or getting worked up. If I know that it's for that, it's when it becomes this thing of like, hold on, is this about power? Is this about ego, or is it about insecurity? You know, then it's kind of like, all right, that's sort of another discussion. But as long as if I feel that everybody is doing it because they actually care about the end product, I don't really mind if someone can be difficult in that way, because, you know, because I bet you there's plenty of times for all of us where the showrunner, the director, or the writer of that episode was probably going, oh, I just want you to shoot this. Moments like that, but actually we've probably all had moments as well where they've said to us afterwards, I'm kind of glad that you fought for that thing, you know.
Totally.
Like you say about, if you apply it to any other profession, it's like, it's having pride in your work, but also know that you're doing a job. You're serving to somebody.
Yeah. And with it being a long, because how many episodes did you do? I should know this.
I don't know, like,
when did you guys leave? Season 4?
30 odd, 40, I don't know, something like that, 30 something, I would think.
So many. But
you came back in season 5.
Oh, and then you came back.
Yeah.
Well, my point was like, even if you picked the wrong battle and you kind of might have pissed some people off, it's like we all had enough time to kind of go, yeah, my bad, you know, like it was this kind of what happens on set stays on set, like, you know, we'll all end the day and just kind of leave stuff there. And I think that meant that our set was nice and friendly, because there was that sense of like,
not to say, I mean, there haven't been many situations where I've been really going, oh, this is tricky, but it was a particularly positive environment, you know. I think, you know, Jed and Marissa and Jeff had a big part to do with that, because they're just good people and nice people, and then we were like, and they obviously then tried to employ people that were going to make it into life. And I was, you know, I felt so fortunate where people like you and Ian, just like, you know, Henry and stuff, people that just really made feel at home, and were kind of like, right, I get it, this is all a bit mad.
This is weird right now.
Well, it's like you had said something earlier about how sometimes, like, if you mess up a line or you do this in the audition, there's an essence, there's some sort of energy thing where it's like they just like you. And I think that plays a big part, where it's like you're gonna have to work with someone for a lot of hours over and over again. And it's like people mess up lines all the time. People do that stuff. And I think that like what you're talking about, it's like they had to have picked up on those sort of things to know the right chemistry and everything. And I think it's just a good, that the lesson that you're kind of teaching there, I think is just applicable across the board, because it's like people do mess up, and it's like if you just handle yourself in
and not to take it personally, because you know,
that's a huge one.
You can, particularly some of that acting, and I can only really speak on that fully because it's the only kind of
and writing too.
Writing. Yeah,
maybe that's a bit different.
Yeah, but it's just that thing of like right place, right time with a lot of things, and that does apply to writing, where you go, you can have. It's like they always ask you why this story and why now, and some stuff you're going, well, actually, it's kind of. You know, say for instance, something like you're about to do an Apple show that's going to come out, the what's morning show.
Yeah.
Morning show. I mean, it's the perfect show for this time. It's something that everybody's talking about. So you get them why your story, which might be like really, really cool story, but they're like, yeah, but we've got this other thing, which is what everyone's talking about right now.
Yeah.
And in the same way that as an actor, you can it can be a really rough sometimes when you're like, oh, you nearly got this thing, or like you thought you nearly got that thing, or you really love this part, you don't get it, and sometimes, and then you see who they cast, you go, oh, right, yeah, like that person's foot taller than me, or they're a different gender, or they're this or that or the other, and you're like,
I get it.
And then if you're trying to do your own stuff, you're like, well, you know that there was something that we've been working on, and there was somebody suggested for a role, and you're like, oh, they're brilliant, but they're so not right for that character. We'd be lucky to have them.
Yeah.
Just not going to work in that role.
Yeah.
And I do think that's, you know, you can lose and win jobs for all sorts of arbitrary reasons, really, you know.
Yeah. Do you think being on the other side of the camera helps kind of acting and navigating the industry in that way?
I think it definitely makes, like, if you've ever sat in on a casting or seen casting tapes, you kind of immediately go, all right. I remember, so I, before I went to drama school, I worked for this, and then during my summers, I worked for this like little production company that did like idents and adverts and music videos and stuff. And they were doing this advert for, I think it was for like some military thing. So these actors came in. It was actually a guy that ended up like, that kind of through a friend knew, but basically he had one leg. Right, and he was playing a soldier. It was to play a role as a soldier in a battlefield, and immediately just going, well, physically he's not going to be capable of doing the things you're doing. So you go, his agent has wasted his time, we've wasted his time, he's wasted his time. And you just go, there's nothing anyone could do about the fact that like that thing is just, it's not going to work. And he's a really, really good actor. This guy, seen him in other stuff, and he's great. We just go, it was like that really stark lesson to go. Sometimes you're going to turn up and you can walk in the room and kill it at the audition. just not right. I had something like that recently where I was like, I thought, oh, I think I'm gonna get it. I think I'm gonna get it. And they just go, well, essentially they're just like who Nick is just doesn't fit. It's like your face doesn't fit.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted the one guy or whatever, and
yeah, it's so right that it's not personal, because I think we always, you know, we are all the center of our own universes, in that we think, which is good and bad, you know.
I can just dye my hair. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'll just shave it off.
Everything about myself, and and
It's
then
just,
like you say, when it's right, it's easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
But the flip side of that, I think that's really important as well. It's like that there, but for the grace of God, go I. Is that like to think that you're somehow special or superior because you got the thing, and that's not acting. That's whatever it is. I just think like there is a line of people, talented and interesting and cool and nice that could have like for me, where I just go with. It's so lovely the way people responded to like Agents of Shield, and like you meet all these fans, you go to Comic Cons, but it's like if they had on that day, someone at ABC had just gone, all right, Mo and Jed, you love Nick, but we want this guy. They'd have picked him. I'd have never met you guys, whatever. And then whoever fans or whatever would have liked that person for their own reasons. And I just, you know, that's where I always just think like there's a flip side to it, which is keep it in check, because if you're going to take, it's like that thing of like if you're going to believe your good reviews, you've got to really believe the bad ones. So
exactly.
If you're going to tell yourself that, oh, I didn't get the role because it's not because I wasn't good enough at acting, it's because all these superficial reasons. Well, actually, you got the role for all these other superficial reasons as well. So keep your ego in check, you know?
Yeah, totally. Just watching you now with Coulson, it's such a brilliant, like, I love Coulson season 2 because he's so damaged. He's under so much pressure, and seeing Hunter opposite this version of Coulson was so fun to watch. And I mean, I always get excited as an actor to watch any like walk and talks or anything outside, and you know, like you're at a funeral by a graveyard. Like, how was this scene to shoot? Because it's kind of a pivotal one for your character.
Well, one of the sort of interesting things, because you're like, you know, Clark's like the main role in this show, and you're like that thing about entering this new world, but then actually Hunter is slightly outside it, so he wasn't bothered about his authority. So that was quite fun, that side of things, because you're like, well, this character, me as the actor, is respecting the sort of, you know, the kind of experience and the kind of the call sheet numbers and stuff, and then my character's going, this stuff doesn't pop, you know.
Does that help you be less?
Look at how good looking Henry is.
Oh God, I know. This relationship is just so fun. I had so much fun in these scenes because I would be imaginary and could just kind of be admiring. And
look at them, both hot stuff.
I know.
Both hot stuff.
God, that table was just not flattering.
Some picture just popped up on my feed in the last week of like Ian would always grab Henry's pecs, and there was a picture on my. It's like of him holding them up. I think he was like this or something. So,
Henry's such a dear friend. He's like, I love that guy so much.
I know. It's such a lovely. It's such a lovely way to get to hang out with friends, isn't it? When you happen to be working in between of just the chats at Crafty.
Yeah, I'm really, you know, it's one of the amazing things about all the, you know, it's not with any job, isn't it? The people you meet, and I've been very fortunate. I mean, like me and Ian are thick as thieves, like, you know, just best buds, and you know, people like Henry. It's just, you know, we'll, you know, most weeks we'll FaceTime and check in and stuff, and yeah, some really great people.
What do you think? How do you think that came? Like, how does that happen? How do you book a job that shoots on the other side of the world, and then you meet people that are friends for life? Like, what do you think it was that was different, or is it just a fake thing?
I think I know with like Ian, we had mutual friends that I know they'd said to me, "Oh, like you'll get on really well with Ian," but weird, you know, like because Ian can be quite quiet and shy. Which he's not shy at all, but if you don't know him, he's quite shy. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're hanging around with him, he's like, there's no sense of lack of self-confidence or whatever. But so I thought Ian didn't really like me when I first met him, because he can be a bit,
he's quite concentrated too at work. I think it's different when you meet people in different scenarios, isn't it? Like at work.
Yeah.
I think
But then as soon as we kind of like started to get to know each other, we, just honestly, same with me and Ian. It's like I could have met him anywhere in any environment. We'd have ended up really close because I think we got brought up with similar kind of values, and weirdly, we've got members of our family that are really similar.
Wow.
You've got like people in his family. I'm like, that's just like my, whatever. And
yeah.
Stuff. So I think we would have. That's just one of those things where we would have met in any environment and been, had that relationship. And I'm so, honestly, like we sort of almost plan our lives around each other kind of thing. Like, where I think about where, I was thinking about like moving and stuff, and I'm working out how far it is to Ian's house.
Oh.
And then I don't know, I guess I don't know, I think it's just like anything. People are just people, aren't they? Like, I think, say it was like Henry, we would just talk and talk and talk for hours and, explore ideas. And we, really kind of like, I think it's just people are people wherever you go. Like, I think I found that wherever I end up, I think whatever job I was in, we're so vastly, it's like we're so like infinitely unique human beings, but we're also just pack animals, and we're a species that kind of, we all experience fear and insecurity and the opposites of those. And I think if you just get lucky sometimes, don't you? And
yeah, totally. And
if you think of all those people that you could have met that you've missed out.
Yeah. Well, and being bonded by a passion like acting, or common experience, shared experience, and it's just a lovely byproduct, isn't it, of a job at the end of the day. Just quickly before this episode ends, I have to ask. How was it working? And this was from last episode, really, but how was it working with Lucy Lawless?
Oh, she was great crack. Yeah, I mean, it's because like a lot of British people, know her from Xenia the Warrior Princess.
Yeah,
I remember, like, as a kid, like vaguely anything, but it was again adding to the weirdness of that first date. I'm upside down in an SUV. The first thing was sat in the blazing heat in the middle of summer in LA, eating Skittles. It's like they're watching this SUV being driven down this road and flipping over, and it's like, right, you've got to get in that now. We're going to cover you in blood. And Xenia the Warrior Princess is going to be sat here, and but she's kind of like wonderfully bonkers, like just the character. And yeah, she was really good fun. All my memories are just very fun, kind of like where you're like, oh, I'd like you to, if you were one of my mates' mums when I was little, you'd have been a great crack. I imagine her kids' friends love going around their house.
Yeah, just to be in your brain for those first couple of weeks. Gosh. Like, Lucy Lawless is there, then you're working with Adrian Pasdar, then you got your scenes with Clark Gregg, you're jet lagged, you don't know if you're staying for 2 weeks or 2 years. It's just,
I'll let Chloe also tell you the story about what I did to her car as well in my first week, which is a whole other story, which might have some legal implications that I'm not willing to do. Yeah, it was mad. It was completely mad. Like, so exciting and brilliant. And but where you're, like when, like, if you're sort of fluttering up here, you can't really fully enjoy things until you're in a kind of really settled, centered place. Like, it felt like there was going to be this point where I was able to go, oh, okay, cool, this is my life now, and I can start enjoying it, which took a little while,
Yeah, and it does, doesn't it? I mean, like, you enjoy the roller coaster when you're at the end of it and you didn't die.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we've got to the end. I'm going to invite a couple people into the chat. Cool. Just to say, I feel like I just completely overtook.
I didn't ask a single question in the chat. I only asked my questions and had a good time.
Like I said, I've had a few glasses of wine, so I probably just napped on.
No, not at all. But I do a podcast version of this, and just to say to the people listening that did ask questions in the chat, we're going to answer some of those I'm going to answer some of those in the outro of the podcast. So make sure you tune into the podcast on Tuesday. Second thing to say is this is the new merch that we've got. Zachary is modeling the rest day hoodie. This is obviously the lemon t-shirt. I have the matching bottoms on.
So you got that stuff made?
Yeah, baby, just go to my website, elizabethhenstridge.com, and it's all there.
Love it. That's not just like whacking a print on a t-shirt. That's like full on.
Oh, we're designers now, yeah. It's lockdown, isn't it?
And it's very comfy.
Yes, it looks
What does it say
good.
on the shirt? What does it say on the hoodie?
It says usually extra, but this is my rest day, and it has a lemon with some leopard leaves.
So we have two ranges. We have an extra range, which this is from, if you're feeling extra. And then we have a rest day range, which is
More my style.
more Zach style, calm, muted, tasteful. You know? Right, I'm gonna let some people in because so each week I give out the Zoom link, and I have 100 limit on my Zoom waiting room at the moment, and this filled up in about 1 second flat. So I'm just
I'm not in any rush to go anywhere, so I'm happy to stick around if.
Oh my gosh, perfect. Don't tell me that. I'll have you here all night. Okay, so here's let's have Priya in. Sometimes people get kicked out as I let them in accidentally. So we'll see. I'm admitting a couple of people and we'll see. Oh, here we go. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Do you have a question?
Actually, yes. So this is a question for each of you guys. So what is your favorite episode of Agents of Shield?
Oh my gosh, so hard. What's your favorite? I know my one for you. I know my one for you is the Spies Goodbye.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, really loved that episode.
I'm trying to think whether was that the episode where we were in Siberia? Did we do that stuff there? Was that in that episode where we're like on a mission in Siberia or something, and we're all in
the shot at the end?
Yeah.
I remember doing. I think it might have been that episode of the episode before where we like had to. We're in Los Angeles in like the blazing heat, having to pretend in Siberia, wearing full tack gear. So like more clothes than I've ever worn in my life, and you're just in the middle of summer trying to pretend you're cold. It was honestly, I was like thinking, there's got to be laws against this.
Yes, so hot. Was that where they did the snow and the snow ended up being so smelly? Was it that one? And it was.
To be honest, I don't think I could even smell by that point. I was just thinking,
Yeah, all your senses were gone. Yeah, it was smelly because they ended up using water that was potentially like a bit sewagey. I mean, it was honestly, it smelled like a toilet, but.
I guess I liked, as far as like, I liked ones where we all got to be together, or where you had like a different, suddenly you were working with a different character you don't usually get the chance to. That was always fun.
That one with you and Ian was great that Vince did. And was that when you came back? Was that season 5? No.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, where I nearly crashed the Breaking Bad RV.
Yes, you do it in the RV.
Do you know what we're talking about? Where I came back in season 5 and we're driving around in that old RV thing. So that was from Breaking Bad. That was one of the Breaking Bad RVs.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know the actual one.
It was one of, well, they had a few of them, and it was one of them. And I'm not like a bad driver. I'm just not a very. It's like I'm not a dangerous driver. I'm just not very good at driving. Do you know what I mean? And all the crew are in the back of it, and and also, to be fair, I was kind of like, well, no one's giving me like a test drive and this and told me how to drive an RV. Like I'm used to driving a little car. And I at one point I just like took this corner, and you heard all the equipment and all the crew just slammed to the side of the RV. And I was going, stop! Like everyone's like on the street, as if going, what? Yeah, kind of took it personally because I was like, look, how can you blame me?
What do you want me to do? Yeah. Well, and it's the different side of the road.
Yeah, different side of the road, an RV. I mean,
I think that closed off the road. To be fair, I don't think I could blame it on that.
Well, things are on the opposite side when you're driving. I mean, you know,
yeah, from England.
the gear stick. Yeah.
You're being very generous there, Lil. Very generous.
I am, because we've had a couple of car stories in this that don't like give you the best
What's your favorite episode, Angelia?
Yeah, that's the Spice Goodbye is one of my favorite episode.
Yeah.
I cried a lot during watching it. So.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, that's a good episode.
Thank you so much for your question. Feel free to hang around or blink out if you want, whatever works for you. I've just invited.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I've just invited Jaden in and a couple other people. Sometimes it's kind of slower. Do you have a favorite episode, Zach?
One you directed, of course.
Oh my gosh,
it is one of my favorite episodes, though.
Well, thank you, babe.
Oh, the finale was amazing.
Well, this isn't letting me let people in. Was it slow for you to be able to get in, Angelia?
They turn their microphones and videos on.
A little bit,
yeah.
yeah.
Loads of people. Okay, Harriet, how are you? Can you hear us? Harriet, we can't.
Harriet, I don't think Harriet can hear us.
Oh,
you can turn your mic on, guys, can't you?
How about?
Is it Do?
Oh,
Do Obici?
maybe I'll do this. Hey.
Hey.
What's
Oh
up?
my god. I was not expecting to get picked for this. I'm so
I'm so happy you're here. How are you doing?
What's all the posters in the background?
What?
What's your posters in the background?
Oh my god. Okay, so this is Spider-Man. This is my Deadpool poster. That's just my UGA flag. I go to UGA.
Bulldog.
Oh god. Can't believe I'm talking to y'all.
Where's the poster of Agents of Shield?
I couldn't find one. I'm so sorry.
Do you have a question? Or are you here to hang out?
Can you hear us?
I don't know.
Oh.
Do you? Can you hear us still?
I can hear you. Sorry,
good.
I just had an echo.
Oh. That happens to me every week. I have to mute something I've got going on in the background. Do you have a question for Nick or me or Zach or Angelia?
Yeah, okay. I have one for Nick. It was what was my question? I'm sorry, I'm nervous, y'all.
Oh my gosh. We're all friends.
Yeah. It was so like how did it feel like joining a cast of like already established characters? Like how did it feel like being the newbie, I guess?
I mean, like, if you've ever joined a new school or started a new job or anything, it's the same thing, you know? I mean, you've got that extra, it's kind of, you're conscious of the fact that all your family and friends are going, oh, Nick's just moved to America or whatever, and he's going to do this show, and the fact that people are going to see it. But essentially, it's that same thing of like, are people going to like me? Am I a really bad person? And they're all going to see that. They're going to see beneath my skin all my faults. And, you know, you're hoping that there's going to be people that you're going to connect to and stuff. But, you know, it's just lucky, like I said before, that you've got people like Jeff and Mo and Jed who are just really kind people and nice people. Like, and if any of you guys had got a job on set, they'd have treated you the same and made you feel very welcome. And but at the same time, you know, your acting's a weird thing that, like, it's exposing in that, I guess with a lot of creative stuff, part of the doing of it is like a statement. If it's going on worthy of doing it. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you're going to be a stand-up comedian, you're going, I'm funny. And if you're going to be an artist, you're saying, I'm really good at art and this is worth looking at, which is kind of bold. It's not like a lot of other jobs where, you know, you're not kind of making that statement. It's a statement by doing it. So you immediately, as an actor in any creative thing, you have that slight thing of like, do I have the right to claim that of myself kind of thing? So you're worrying a little bit about that. And I had a lot of those things of being like, I don't know what I'm doing in this scene. I don't know whether that scene was any good. Did I say that line right? But you just have to kind of go with it and trust yourself. And if you can't trust yourself, trust that if you're messing it up, someone's going to tell you, because they're putting a lot of money into this.
Yeah.
So if you get it wrong, they're going to get you to do it again and again until you get it right. But also lucky that, you know, at the end of the day, you're in the sunshine in LA, you know, like what it could be a lot worse. And yeah, and just I like meeting new people. So you turn up, and I was fortunate that people were funny and fun and kind and everything, and yeah.
That's good. What a great question.
Great question.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, Harriet, how are you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry about that. My screen is doing all sorts of funky things right now, but I think I'm online, so we're good.
You look great and clear.
Thank you. This has been a fantastic episode. I absolutely love listening to your conversation today. So I've got a question for Nick. So did you always know you wanted to be an actor? Or was there a particular moment that really cemented it in your head and you kind of woke up one day and you're like, yes, this is what I want to do?
Oh, sorry, go on. Yeah.
Sorry, and then just added to that, what then made you decide I'm just going to go across the pond and try it out in LA? Because that's got to be a big ballsy move.
Well, I like when I was a kid. I mean, I've said this before when I've been asked. I was lucky enough. I grew up in a really tiny place, but there was a like weekly drama group, which was kind of like I think it was a bit of a glorified youth club kind of thing, and but a lot of the kids, I think for parents it was kind of that thing of like you can, on a Wednesday night between whatever it was 7 and 9, you kick your kid out to go to the drama club and you don't have to worry about them for a bit. So a bit of a, for them it was kind of babysitting. And I had an older brother and him and his friends went to it like every kind of kid did because it was one of the only things to do. So it was by virtue of the fact my brother went, it was kind of a cool thing to do. So I just wanted to go because you got to stay up till 9 and stuff. And when I was like 7, as soon as I could go, I went. And I remember the first week, no, that was it. The week before, my brother and his mates had been given like this 2 or 3 page scene. And I think it was set on a spaceship, if I can remember. And there was all these different characters. Me and my friend, it was going to be our first time going. That was like the homework. So we worked in the scene, and each character we just figured in our heads, they have to be distinctive. So despite the fact they're on a spaceship, it was like one was like a tennis player, one was a footballer, one was, and it was just, but it was literally like as soon as I did it with that, going along to that group, drama group, I didn't want to do anything else. I was like 7, and I just was like, and I remember having this assumption that everyone wanted to be an actor. They just was like, it's whether they sort of could actually do it or not. That was all it was. I couldn't really get my head around that anyone wouldn't want to do it. I just thought, well, that was the be all and end all of anything really. I just loved it from that. I don't really know. A lot of the time I find actors talk about like, storytelling or whatever, but I think most actors, there's an element of kind of showing off, being the center of attention, get all that sort of thing. I think that's just a given. Like, no matter how kind of confident you are or not, I think there's a bit of ego is not the right word. It's kind of enjoying a bit of attention and stuff and needing validation. But the main thing for me, I think it's something to do with communication, about like you can say or do something that makes someone laugh or respond in some way, and you go, we're existing on the same planet. We kind of understand each other. And I think that's what I really get a buzz out of, is that if I talk to somebody about a film I like, just that thing that whatever it was happening in that film or in that scene, we all, without being able to articulate it fully, know what it is that speaks to our experience of just living and being human beings. So that was the kind of thing, but it took a while to work out how to do it, because as a profession, because where I grew up, no one was an actor, no one did jobs like that really. Anything in the creative industries was just a pipe dream, so it took a while, and I really, really wanted to go to like stage school when I was a kid, and apparently I threatened to run away when I was like 10 unless I got to go to stage school. My parents were like, we can't afford it, and no. And then I remember when it came around to like university applications, I knew about like the footlights at Oxford and Cambridge, which was like where a lot of the sketch comedy through Oxford and Cambridge came through. So I was like, I'd been encouraged to apply for Oxford and Cambridge. So I was like, right, that's how I can be an actor. So I interviewed at Cambridge. I didn't get in. So I just went to the next best university. doing the same course because they didn't do drama courses at Oxford and Cambridge. So I'd applied to do political science, SPS, and didn't get in there. So I just went to the next best university, which is Bristol, and did politics there. And went to the Drama Society, and they were really posh and all talking about Shakespeare. And I was like, I was intimidated. Like I kind of was like, I'd never really met really posh people before. And they were all talking about theatre and all these plays I didn't know. Because all the stuff I'd done as a kid was like improvising and devising. We didn't really do script work. So I was intimidated. And I told myself, it was like, oh, they're not my type of people. But it was just, I was a bit scared. So it took me a little while. And then I was dating a girl who was going to the ITV workshop, which is a TV station in the UK. And they do like a drama group, like an acting group. So I got into that. And then I met people that were really serious about acting. And they were all, lots of them were applying to drama school. So I was like, that's what I'll do, go to drama school. And then as far as the America side of it, it's kind of it. I was interested in it. And I had a friend who lived in New York, so I'd go visit him. And then when I was there, my agent said, well, go meet some managers. So I met some managers, signed with one of them. And then I got to do a play in LA, which was great. And then it was that thing of, I got cast in Agents of Shield. I'd been put up for it by my agents, which, most actors in the UK will have that experience. And like we were talking about earlier, is that if your face fits and they like you for that role, and you've something about what you bring to that audition, if they think, oh, that's what we kind of wanted for that part, then you've got lucky,
That's such a good answer. Yeah, and such a great question. And it's just that we randomly have been speaking a lot about if you have a goal, you'll find the pathway to get there. And you go, oh, somebody gave me this nugget of information about Oxford and Cambridge. I went for Cambridge, didn't get in. Went to the next, didn't get in. Went to this place, did get in. It wasn't perfect. You met this person that took you. It's kind of, cool to hear those. It's not just, oh, I just got everything I ever went for.
Yeah, don't like attach yourself to the path. Attach yourself to like where you want to get to. And then just like,
and not take it personally.
And not take it personally. And it's like, we were talking about this on our walk today. It's like, you'll get a tool and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to use this tool, and just don't discard it. Cause it may like down the road, it's like, oh, suddenly you have a hammer that you never knew and there's a nail. And
with acting is that like, you're meant to be playing a human being most of the time, or at least based off of some human experience. And unless you've actually lived that, you don't know what people are like. Like if you want to bring some imagination to a role, then you probably want to have met some interesting people and done some interesting things. And so if there's value in it, and like, the first year I applied to drama school, I didn't get in, and it took another year. And I know loads of people have had that experience. Like my mate, I was working with someone recently, his son is just going through the process and has got a couple of recalls and got rejected from a few places. And I was like, it means nothing. It means nothing. I know amazing actors that didn't get in, and some people you're like, how did you turn up here? What do you do, Harriet?
Well, I actually work at the Electoral Commission, so I did political science as well at uni.
Oh, did you? Where was that?
Southampton.
Right.
But I've always wanted to be an actor, so like when I was a kid, and then just discarded it because like you were saying, you don't see people around you. So I've recently started acting lessons a bit later in life, but just your story and knowing that you don't necessarily have to be a star as a 5-year-old, it's really nice to hear.
Trust me, and the great thing about nowadays as well is that you can, if you don't have the outlet for what your abilities or your passion, you've got a HD camera in your pocket.
Yeah.
Make stuff, just go. That's what I always say to people. It's like, there's kind of a limit to how much I want to hear people complain about their opportunities, because I'm like, you can just get off your ass and do it. And the best way to learn is to try and fail better, and, fail again and fail better again. And so many, it's one of the things where from the writing perspective, I'd get frustrated about, I'd go through this process of like, producer coming on board and they want to make your thing and they're really interested, and then it would just slow down and grind to halt, and then you've forgotten, and you'd be like, I'd be there bitching and complaining about it. You go, well, actually, I've looked at so many examples where people just got off and they made it themselves. And there's kind of no excuse now that you can't just get on and do it. And the great thing about acting as well is that there's no age limit on it.
Yeah.
Yes, if you start as a kid, you're at a head start. And yes, there is a kind of flavor of the month type thing that when you're new and you're fresh, everyone wants to meet you and that can die down. But equally, you could go out tomorrow and make a short film. It could, get a little bit of attention at some awards things and, festivals. And as casting director sees you and then someone says, oh, what about this person? And it goes ahead. But you can always just make your own stuff. And if you love it, you'll get satisfaction out of that,
Yeah.
That's brilliant advice. Thank you.
Totally. Oh my gosh, I feel so fired up. Jaden, do you have a question? Sorry to have left you down there. How are you?
You're good. Hi, I'm good. My question is for Nick. So, how was it when you figured out you were being written off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then being moved to Most Wanted?
Yeah, I mean, that was a crazy period because it was all very secretive. They sort of called, I got this phone call thinking like, oh, am I in trouble? What have I done? And they said, we want to do this spin-off. And I mean, it was kind of a little bit hard to really wrap my head around because you're like, on the one hand going, potentially leaving this thing, which is really fun, and you're going out to the great unknown. And also you don't know what it is. You've not read any scripts. You don't know if it's going to be any good or what it is. You're just kind of like, okay, so everything's going in this direction now. So it was a huge sort of like compliment. It was really flattering to the fact that they thought that it was worth exploring that idea, and to work with Adrienne, who's just great. Like, she's such a kind of cool person, Adrienne, isn't she, though?
Yeah, best.
She's this. I'd never watched like Friday Night Lights. In fact, I started watching it during lockdown. But I've got
So good.
Brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, and mates from back home that would be like going, oh, and of course, like a lot of the guys like love her, and stuff. But like girls, everyone you go, oh, well, she's great. All this stuff, so cool. And Adrienne's like taller than me, like beautiful, charming, smart, cool, and that stuff, but just no nonsense. Like, is not impressed by any of the kind of fluff of Hollywood and all that nonsense. She just wants to get on, have her life, and just crack on with things. She's a really, really cool person. So the thought then to work with her on something was great. Just like, oh, well, this will be cool. So it was just exciting, really. And then shooting it. I mean, it was a pretty full-on shoot because you obviously with pilots, they plow a lot into it. They want to have it all singing, all dancing, bells and whistles. So it's kind of it's a lot of work, long hours. Things are changing as you go and stuff. So very, very fun and very exciting. But you're also aware of the fact that it's the great unknown because you're like, well, is it going to get picked up? What happens if it doesn't? Where are we going to go? And I actually, to be fair, at the time, I was kind of cool either way. I was like, well, if this goes ahead, I'll be doing this for a while, and I'm working with Adrienne and with Jeff and with Paul Z, who were the showrunners, Jeff Bell, who's one of the showrunners on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then Paul Z, who was one of the head writers, who are really, really cool people. But then if it doesn't, I was like, all right, well, now it's the part of the fun thing about acting or this sort of job is that you never know what next week is going to look like.
Yeah.
So, you're going on and back into that again. So it was sad to say goodbye to people, but exciting as well. And exciting, like I say, not just because I knew there was no guarantee that this thing was going to go ahead, but I was equally excited about going, well, now instead of knowing what the next year is going to look like, I'm like, well, who knows what's going to turn out, Yeah.
It's another huge leap of faith, isn't it? It's kind of how your whole journey with this universe started, of going, okay, yeah, I'll just keep saying yes and figure it out. And it's the same thing. I mean, I've never been on that side of a pilot where it's people you know and characters then and Paul Z, who actually wrote this episode 202, who we've had on here, who we love, getting to then like stretch his wings, and it was just it was we were just all willing that to be, and it was still such a positive experience for you all, but it just wasn't the right time for that pilot for whatever reason. But
and all that
so
stuff
cool
is
to
like,
see that.
you can't predict why something will go and why it won't.
No.
There's many different reasons why it will or won't. So you know, but you learn as an actor. I just think I've done stuff before where you think, oh, this is the one.
Yeah.
Or stuff where you've gone, oh, I don't really rate this. I think it's a load of rubbish. Like, oh, everyone likes it. Yeah, no, I knew it all along. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what amazing questions. Thank you so much, everybody. You just are all amazing, just wonderful angels. I'm so glad to have you, and I love just seeing faces.
Nice to meet you all. Where are you all? Just so I know. Where are you, Angelia?
I'm at Indonesia.
Indonesia, right. Jaden, where are you?
I'm in the States, in Nevada.
Nevada, nice. Harriet, Southampton?
No, I'm in Nottingham.
Nottingham.
Yes, the North.
Yes.
How about you, Do? Where are you?
I am in Athens, Georgia, in my dorm right now.
Oh, awesome!
You spent a night in Athens.
I shot a film not far. Isn't that where what's his name? So Michael Stipe. Is he from Athens in Georgia?
I'm not sure.
I shot a film not far from there, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, Georgia place. I like
a cool college town.
Yeah. And you're in London, Nick, and we're in Indiana. So we're pretty good with this globe getting it covered. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Nick. You've just been so generous with your time.
Yes, thank you very much.
So
that dog right there.
Here's Maggie.
It's Maggie.
Hey Maggie, how you doing?
You've been laying down the whole time.
Yeah, she's been snoring quite loudly, so we were worried that we kept
trying to
wake her up.
Yeah.
She does her own thing. Okay, here's the best part where I admit 100 people in that are in the waiting room, and we wait for a couple minutes, and then we'll say goodbye. But we just get to see people's faces smiling and waving, basically. But thank you guys for your questions. They were so awesome. And thank you, Nick. You're just
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lil and Zach, as well. It was really nice to.
So fun. And the questions that we didn't get to in the chat because we didn't ask any of them, I'll be answering some in the outro to the podcast, which will be out on Tuesday. Okay, here everybody comes. It gets a bit mad and chaos.
Hi.
Thanks for your
Hi. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Happy Easter. Shout out to Star Fox for having a birthday today.
Happy birthday. Hi, everyone.
Happy Easter. Easter, everybody. Everybody.
Hi, Jordan.
Goodbye.